Hey y'all, so we have adjourned sine die from the 2024 Reconvened Session, and we were in Richmond, the House and the Senate both, to respond to the governor's actions, whether those were vetoes or amendments that were placed on the bill. So don't forget, once a bill passes out of the House and the Senate, the governor can take four actions: can sign them into law, can send back an amendment, can veto the bill, or take no action. And if he takes no action, it goes into law. Most bills that passed will go into law on July 1st, unless the bill states another date, whether it was an emergency clause that makes it sooner, or whether it's a delayed enactment clause that might make it after July 1st. But most bills will become law July 1st. And so I wanted to tell you about the seven that were signed that were going to become law based off the actions that were taken by April 8th. And so the first one is the Barrier Crimes Bill. And so this was House Bill 1269. We have been working on this since a pandemic study we did when then Senator Edwards was leading the Barrier Crimes and Background Checks Commission, where I was vice chair. And we basically studied how these barrier crimes are preventing people from becoming peer counselors and just really giving back once they've been through something in their past, they overcame it or are continuing to work successfully through it, and then want to help others that might be in that position or prevent them from going in that position. But these barrier crimes were saying if you had committed any of these crimes and were convicted, that you can never be hired. And so we were able to get some of those crimes off the books that will allow for upwards of 600 to 1,000 people that had previously applied to now be eligible to be vetted to see if the department would like to hire them. And so it's really huge, not only for those that do have that pass to get into the workforce for workforce development, but also to build access to those services for those that we're trying to prevent from making some of those same mistakes. And so I want to give a shout out to Senator Pillion. We worked together on that in a bipartisan fashion. Also, House Bill 617, it brings in the protections and responsibilities for name, image, and likeness contracts for high schoolers. So it was not illegal for you to do a NIL contract as a high schooler, but you did not have the same protections that college students were afforded to take out some of those potentially exploitive clauses or sections or tactics that schools or companies could try. And so that bill is signed to help protect our high schoolers. So shout out to y'all student athletes. And then House Bill 619, I worked with the city of Newport News and other cities that wanted this to pass, and it was military-centered community zoning. And so there are some of us, like Newport News, where we have a lot of military personnel that are stationed in our city, but we don't have a base for them. And so like the submarines or ships that are docked at the shipyard to get worked on, there's no base for them. And so this will help draw hopefully some incentives, the city to offer some incentives to draw businesses and services to those areas, which will also help the redevelopment and reinvestment in the downtown area of Newport News. So looking forward to more from that once this zoning bill becomes law. We had House Bill 605, which allows for the dental hygienists for their remote supervision. So they're seeing patients in like community health clinics and assisted living facilities. And so making sure that once they see those patients, they have a little bit more time before they have to get the exam done for the dentist to get those patients really into the dentist practice. So that went from 90 days to 180 days. House Bill 613, the work of the Henrietta Lacks Commission has come to an end. And so that moved up the ending point. So the commission would no longer have to act, but that still would be in place until July 1st. And then for those of you that had to deal with the Virginia Employment Commission, there are some modernizations that we were doing for child support appeals and the way that you can get electronic notification and receipt. So that was House Bill 1453. And we also had House Bill 607 that established the Commission to End Hunger. And so we're hoping to get some really bright minds around the table. I was just at a conference and we were talking about hunger amongst college students. And so that's one of the things that we'll definitely be able to talk about once that commission gets started. And so then we had bills that were sent amendments. And so today we were able to either accept or reject those amendments. And once the House and the Senate both accepted recommendations from the governor or those amendments, then that bill would then move on to become law as amended. And so we had House Bill 611, where we accepted technical amendments that creates the Virginia Deaths in Custody Reporting Act. So if you're following probably around the murder of Freddie Gray in Baltimore. There have been deaths that have happened in custody where the federal level had the bill, because Congressman Scott worked on its reauthorization in 2013, but it was never fully set up by the DOJ and it was never fully funded. And so it wasn't fully functioning. So, at least here in Virginia, from your first interaction with law enforcement all the way through to potential incarceration, transport to incarceration, if you are in custody of law enforcement or incarcerated and there are any deaths under any circumstances, they have to be reported either to DCJS or to the local and regional jail board. And so we're really excited for the amount of support that we got for that, because we should know as lawmakers and the public what is happening in our facilities and in police custody. So then House Bill 603 would infuse age appropriate, grade level appropriate mental health concepts into the public school curriculum. So we were on a couple of news stations talking about this, but we have fights that are escalating into gun violence because our young people don't really have the skills and tools that they need to navigate stress and conflict. We're having issues of self-esteem and self-worth and basically nihilism. And, so some people can handle that at home. Some people can handle that at their faith communities. And then we'll also have that in our schools. So we're really excited about that. We accepted a technical amendment to that. So K-12 education will have mental health concepts infused into it in the PE education. Also, shout out to Pride. Liberation. We work together on House Bill 615. And so, right now, there are several historically underrepresented groups within STEM educational tracks and STEM fields. And so, that's Black students, Latino students, AAPI students, Indigenous students. LGBTQIA plus students, disabled and neurodivergent students who are not going into the tracks. And so, as amended, there were some parts that were taken out, but as amended, the Virginia STEM Education Advisory Board will be tasked to work on specific strategies in order to bridge those gaps and get more from the historically underrepresented groups into the STEM educational tracks. And so we're excited about that work. And then tangentially, a bill that I worked on with Senator Locke, Senate Bill 34, that will pass today. And that will allow the Riverside Psychiatric Emergency Department to do their own evaluations for TDOs in a pilot project to really kind of speed up the process for where those that are in crisis will get straight to the treatment that they need. And then that sunsets in 2 years and we'll get a report back on how well that went. So, I also had the House Joint Resolution, which establishes the week of October 11th, the week of October 6th as Coach Appreciation Week. So, we look forward to celebrating all of you adults that are helping our student athletes in any way, shape, or form. And then also, Kidney Disease Awareness Month in Virginia will be established for March in the following year. So, unfortunately, some of my bills got vetoed, moving the 14-day, 5-day pay or quit period to 14 days. That was vetoed, but we know that we have a housing crisis and we know we have an eviction crisis. So we're going to continue to keep working on that. House Bill 623, which would have strengthened the Virginia Voting Rights Act, Voting Rights Act of Virginia, that got vetoed. House Bill 612, which would allow for more time for a formerly incarcerated individual to be released and then allow more time before the collections start accruing on their paying back fees and fines, giving them more time to get established, get job, housing, healthcare, and all of that. But that was vetoed, allowing for work behind the wall in addition to expanded types of community service for that to count in an equitable way and a fair pay way to cut down on fees and fines. That was vetoed. And then there were some recommendations that the governor sent that we just could not accept. Y'all know I've been working on House Bill 597 for I think 3-4 years now, and that would allow for those that are living under slumlords for the city to be able to sue on your behalf in order to get those fixes. That bill was sent with an amendment that basically killed the bill. And so we rejected that. That now goes back to the governor. He has the option to sign it or veto it. So I would love any support that you can send his way on House Bill 597, because we really, really need that bill. We should not have a safe haven in Virginia for slumlords. We should all be able to agree that slumlords are doing no one justice and should be cracked down on. Um, House Bill 904, I think you all heard about the 3,000 or more people that were unconstitutionally purged from the voting rolls within weeks of the November election last year. Well, it was apparently due to a glitch in the system. House Bill 904, I worked with some brilliant minds within the electoral space, and we came up with a list maintenance that would keep our lists clean, but also make sure that before any purges happen, we make sure we're confident in the data that we're using. And so the amendment that the governor put on that, even though he said that he stands for, safe and fair elections, it gutted the bill. It killed the bill. And so we rejected that. He again has an opportunity to sign that, because that bill will go back before him. And then House Bill 609, the right to contraception. This basically states that no state agency, no state law, no local ordinance can get in between you and your right to contraception. And contraception is defined as those devices and medications that prevent pregnancy. And so we're talking condoms, we're talking birth control pills, we're talking IUDs. I wear my IUD pen. We're talking all of these things that can help prevent pregnancy. And that bill, instead of being signed, was turned into a Section 1 bill, which basically means it was gutted and made into a policy statement. But your right to contraception is under attack. Make no mistake about it. And you deserve a law that will protect that right. So that bill is going back to the governor, and that's House Bill 609. I think sometimes we might think that we're in like this hyperbolic period, but it is not an overestimation to say that there are people who are going to take Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's call to action to come after your access and your right to contraception. So we were trying to proactively protect your right, and the governor still has a chance to do the right thing and sign that. The access to contraception is polling above 80%. So Democrat, Republican, Independent, no party, all of y'all are saying, yeah, we should have a right to contraception. Well, I need you to say it a little louder. Senator Ghazala Hashmi and I are working on this together, and she delivered over 37,000 signatures from people in Virginia saying, please sign this bill. We need this protection. And so we need to obviously get a little louder so that the governor will sign that one. So, we had 30 bills at the beginning, and so I did not expect all of them to get to the finish line. And of course, there were going to be some vetoes, and then some bills that we're going to continue to work on next year. But we got 10 bills signed. One of the bills that I was working on with Senator Locke signed or passed with the amendments, and then those two resolutions. So not too shabby. And don't forget, all of these bills came from conversations with constituents, things that are needed in the 85th district. So I am so thankful for this opportunity to be able to work with you. In case you haven't heard, we'll have more opportunity to work together, because the governor will probably veto the amendments that we send back to him. And we applied for the governor to call for a special session so we can get this budget right and get it done in the right way. Maintain our priorities of making sure that you have money in your pocket to take care of your family's necessities, but that we're also looking after teachers and school infrastructure, that we're looking after public safety, and that we are looking after the environment. And so those are core priorities that we're going to try to maintain. So we will be coming back to Richmond on May 13th. So stay tuned. We'll have some newsletters coming out, but I am now getting a call, so I gotta go. But thank you so much for your support, and I look forward to continuing to work with you.